So we were talking to the same girl in front of each other. And if you want to hear more about that, keep listening. This is part 3 of how we met. I'm Ash.
And I'm Sue.
I left you on a cliffhanger. I was under the impression we were talking to the same girl at the same time. I was seeing this girl's name pop up on her phone, texting her, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was a big problem for Ash that she couldn't even continue to make out with me and hook up in my car. And she basically brought it up.
I did. Here's the thing, I'm a very demisexual person. It's all about emotion for me. And so if I'm just sitting here in this negative emotion, it does not make me feel sexy. It does not make me feel in that zone whatsoever. And it was really frustrating because we weren't, obviously we were not even, wow.
We weren't exclusive.
We were not exclusive.
Official, we were just dating.
So I'm I felt dumb to bring anything up because I was well, technically we're both allowed to be dating other people. Obviously we both are. And that,
not obviously.
in my mind, obviously we both are.
She made that up that we both are because she was, or at least trying to.
Okay, but eventually I just could not get in the mood and could not be I literally was in this avoidance spot where I considered, I'm should I just stop talking to her? I don't know. It felt easier than having to have this conversation for a second.
Definitely.
And then I was no, I genuinely care about this girl. That's the whole reason why I'm so bothered. And so I was okay, if this is actually gonna be something, then I need to obviously be able to communicate my feeling.
Yeah. Anyways, cut to the chase. I clarify that that girl is my friend.
Okay, but you guys had a thing.
Well, we were talking and then we just became friends, but we never had a thing. We weren't,
Okay.
Yeah, and she was my friend, and I was, picking up her calls, being a good friend. And that day she was going through stuff and she was texting me a lot.
And I was just saying her name every 2 seconds.
Yep. Drove her crazy. So long story short, we made it exclusive. We made it exclusive. We were so happy and excited.
I know. You were all sweet about it.
I was very understanding. I even texted her the next day. I was I want to reassure you that we are exclusive and I'm only into you. I texted you that.
And my heart all fluttery.
Reassured her on it and everything. And then fast forward, not even a month later, she ended it with me.
Okay, so let's rewind.
Stick to the end to find out how we made it work.
Rewinding. We just seen each other mid-December, right? And then it's coming up on, what is it called?
New Year's?
Yeah, coming up on New Year's. And she's I want to see you for New Year's. So she bought tickets to come fly down and spend time with me in Arizona because she lives in California this time. There's literally a huge snowstorm. Your flight gets canceled and you take a whole ass bus.
I take the freaking, the Greyhound, basically, okay? Worse than that.
She was unrelenting, got on the bus, super cute, comes down to Arizona, and this was kind of where a lot of things culminated for me. It was a lot of misunderstandings and issues that where my avoidance was coming out, where I was having a hard time figuring out exactly how I felt and how to communicate them to her.
Yeah, the root of the issue was the lack of communication and living off assumptions. That's what caused Ash to want to break up with me.
Basically, I'm in flight school and I ended up taking off basically 2 weeks of flight school where I wasn't flying, wasn't studying, wasn't doing anything I was supposed to while she was in town because I just felt I had to basically entertain her the whole time that she was there, which I wanted to, but then I also just started resenting her for it, whereas I should have just communicated, hi, I need to take a few hours to focus on this. I don't know why I felt I wasn't allowed to almost because you were there. And it's funny because you're such a workaholic that I could have easily said that and we would have been fine. But I just, up until that point, we had just spent every second with each other. So that was just the dynamic that I was used to. So that was a big thing. So I started to kind of resent her because of my lack of communication and lack of doing the things that
lack
were important
of being
to me.
responsible for what you really needed to do.
Yes, exactly.
So it was projecting it on me and taking it out on me, long story short.
Yeah.
All that added up through that whole time. But before she had the courage to break up with me, she asked me to extend my trip. I was supposed to leave right after New Year's. She's oh, but it's my birthday on the 13th. How about
No, you were supposed to leave the 6th or something.
Whatever.
I asked
how
you to stay another
about you
week.
extend your trip for me and spend it on my birthday? And I was okay. Boom, extended trip. 2 days later, I can't do this anymore.
No.
That's literally what happened.
A day before my birthday.
It was
I know, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just a school thing. There were multiple things that I just misunderstood about you as a person and about our dynamic. And I guess didn't want to have the conversations about it.
Yeah, it's totally human. I've done that so many times in previous relationships. So Anyways, so she breaks up with me, and I'm basically startled because I literally cannot believe that she's breaking up with me. It just didn't make sense. You just asked me to extend my trip. And in my world, we've been having a great time. I can't read her brain. I don't know what was actually happening. I don't know she had to do all this stuff for flight school. I didn't know she was pushing all this stuff to the side. Like, I knew nothing of that. That was not my reality this whole time. So her breaking up with me was like, what the f***? I literally was speechless. I didn't even know what to say. And I basically said nothing.
Yep, you said nothing. That was interesting. And then you still ended up, you like left and went and stayed at your Airbnb you just got in Arizona that night, and you still went out and bought me a Fitbit that I actually was just wearing before this video because I'd been like not sleeping very well, and you knew that the Fitbit could like
help you
analyze your sleep and stuff, which was it was a very sweet gift and a pretty pricey gift for someone that just broke up with you. And you went and got a bunch of like my favorite candies and like I think still wrote a sweet note, and I was like, what the hell? It made me feel really guilty. Yeah. So that was that.
I can't even imagine how guilty you felt. Now that I know you and that's how you get, I can't even imagine. I even filled your gas tank up. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, I probably did at the time. I can't remember. Long story short, basically, we become a situationship.
Yep. I go back to California and live my life, basically. And we stay in communication, like a little bit, almost none. I end up having to come back to Arizona here and there for my Airbnb stuff. So Ash knew I was coming, or I was supposed to come. So you texted me one day. It was like after Valentine's Day. And you were like, when are you coming back to Arizona? And I was like, actually, I'm going in next week, I said. And then she was like, I'll let you take me out to have those oysters. Because she had never had oysters. I don't know who's never had oysters before. Crazy. It was mind-blowing to me. And when we were dating, we always talked about it. So she brought it up. Like, when are you going to take me out to have oysters?
I was in my like toxic situationship era.
She was so toxic. And I was like, whatever, sure. Little does she know that I'm already have planned my whole move there. I signed a lease to my apartment. So I was shocked that you had reached out to me because my plan was to not reach out to you because I knew you were being toxic.
Are you confused at what to do in the bedroom?
Or do you miss our viral kissing challenges?
Either way, have we got the place for you, our Patreon.
Our Patreon will give you confidence in the bedroom.
And we post kissing challenges every other week. So if you're interested, head on over to Patreon. We post every Sunday.
And I didn't want to play with fire. Guys, I played with fire for like 8 years straight of my life, okay? Obviously, I was still attracted to Ash and had feelings for Ash. That doesn't go away just because the person is being toxic. But I also wasn't going to walk into the fire, you know? I will dance around the fire, live next to the fire, but I'm not going to walk into the fire.
Move next to the fire without telling the fire.
Yeah, I'm not going to walk into the fire. So the fire walks into me, basically, and I said yes.
That was the plan, huh?
That was that. So we go out on a freaking date, but we don't call it a date. And
I mean, it was a date to me.
We didn't call it a date, though. Like, we weren't like, let's go on a date.
Okay, yeah, we didn't say the word date.
We were both being toxic.
I said, when are you taking me out? So that's like a date to me.
I'm taking accountability because I was also not communicating. And I was playing in this toxicity called a situationship. And we did that for a couple months. So anyways, I moved to Arizona. I tell her I thought it was going to be fantastic. I couldn't wait to see her reaction. And you didn't have that much of like a what reaction?
My brain was like...
You took it pretty nonchalantly, which I was shocked.
But my brain was like, did this girl just move to Arizona for me? Like, that's literally what I thought. Yeah. It wasn't totally wrong.
No.
Yeah.
Like, we'd literally go on a situationship, encounter, date, whatever you want to call it, and then not talk for 3 weeks, and then do it again. Literally, radio silence. Sometimes you'd comment on my stories, like a little flirty, but that was usually so you could get me to take you out on a date. Like, you weren't commenting just to comment.
You also have to understand that I'm like a very demisexual person, so I need to have emotional connection with somebody to sleep with them. So I wasn't sleeping with literally anybody else throughout this entire time from the time we started talking on. Like, it takes a lot for me to sleep with someone, and we had such good chemistry, and I felt, like, safe with her in that way, which I'd never really had that with somebody where we weren't, like, together, but I felt the safety with you in that way, and so that's kind of why it went into that kind of dynamic. But yeah,
so that happened. Long story short, me and my friend Rebecca had planned a trip to Vegas, or she
was originally my friend. Okay, so we're all friends.
Yeah, it was her idea, and she's like, "Oh, we should invite Ash." I'm like,
"Really?" And our
situationship, because she knew that what we were doing.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Whatever," you know. And then we're like, "Yeah," and Mads and all our other friends. Never happens. Everybody signs up. Yeah, let's go. Everybody drops out. Now it's just Ash and me going to freaking Las Vegas. But I had to go. I had a session that I was supposed to do, and it was all planned. The hotel room was booked. We had to go. Anyways, Ash and I go. Long drive. I didn't charge my freaking Tesla. We get stranded in the middle of nowhere. I literally have to charge my car with like a normal plug.
It takes like an hour for 1%.
So we're in this car, and I could feel the tension. I'm like twiddling my fingers. I'm like, oh my God, I can feel it.
Started like trying to like
She's about to burst. I can like feel your energy. And my avoidant came out. I didn't want to deal with it. I was trying to fall asleep before she could open her mouth. And then she opened it.
I opened my mouth. Okay, because at this point, I had been starting to get to the point where I was realizing how much I really cared about her and did like her and didn't want to like keep pushing her away. And so I was like, I need to come clean and tell her all the things that were holding me back and like just communicate about it and have an actual conversation and hope that she'll forgive me, basically.
She cried. It was emotional. It was very vulnerable. I loved it. You know, it was authentic. You were courageous enough to tell me every reason why you thought you and I didn't work or weren't going to work. I thought that was very bold of you, and a lot of it was true, but also a lot of it was misunderstanding.
And so I just like said all that, and then she's like, so you want to be my girlfriend? Like, what are you getting at?
Yeah,
You're like, want to be my girlfriend?
You're really gonna get me to say
And I was
it?
like, yes. Yes, I do. Thanks for asking.
You're cute. So that's how we became girlfriend and girlfriend.
So we had a very romantic and wonderful trip to
Until she
Vegas.
breaks up with me 3 months later again.
Oh my God.
We'll save that for a whole different video, guys. Guys, I am queen of getting broken up with in this era of my life. I swear to God. When I was a teenager, I was doing all the breaking up, and then in my adult life, I'm getting broken up with. So yeah, Ash did it twice. We'll talk about the second time later. But yeah, that's our beautiful, toxic love story.
Beginning of our love story.
Romantic, very romantic and healthy.
Aw, cute.
Yeah.
So if you're curious about what happens next, then tune in for the next video.
We love you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.